What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Lawrence Okolie versus Chris Billam-Smith, and this was a 12-rounder for the WBO Cruiserweight Championship of the World. And this fight was Saturday, May 27th, from the Vitality Arena in Bournemouth, England. And this fight was broadcasted on Sky Sports. And in this fight, Chris Billam-Smith was able to get the upset majority decision victory over Lawrence Okolie to become the new world champ. So I personally scored this bout 114 to 109 in favor of Chris Billam-Smith. There was multiple point deductions and multiple knockdowns in this fight that ultimately led to Billam-Smith obviously getting the job done. So I gave Lawrence Okolie 5 rounds in this fight. I gave Chris Billam-Smith 7. But, I mean, there was numerous times where Billam-Smith really took the power to Okolie, and that really won him this fight. But the three judges scored this bout 116-107, which I could definitely see for Smith, and 115-108 for Smith. Those scorecards are 100% fair and 100% could have been how the fight went. But then one of the judges had a 112-112, which is a crazy scorecard in my opinion. I definitely did not see it that way, and I don't think anyone else did. 112-112 is kind of a crazy and egregious scorecard in my opinion. Should have been a unanimous decision win for Chris Billam-Smith, but in the end, Smith still got the win. And just to break this fight down round by round, the first 3 rounds I gave them all to Lawrence Okolie. I mean, he dictated the pace of the rounds. He was holding excessively in this fight, and that's why he did get points taken away. But in the first 3 rounds, he was still holding, but he was doing the better work than Smith, and Smith wasn't doing much back. But then in the 4th round, Chris Billam-Smith dropped Lawrence Okolie. I believe it was the first time in his pro career he jumped with a leaping left hand that landed flush on the chin of Okolie and sending him down. And Okolie's legs were gone for the rest of the round, and it was a 10-8 round right there. Then in the 5th round, Okolie was still hurt, and he was trying to hold on for dear life. So then the referee took away a point from him for holding. But the 5th round still, the 5th round still, Okolie did much, much worse than Smith, and he had a point taken away. So that was 2 straight 10-8 rounds for Billam-Smith, in my opinion. Then around number 6, it was just a plain-out better round for Chris Billam-Smith. He was landing better power shots, especially power shots with that left hand. So that 6th round, I also gave it to Smith. Then in the 7th round, it was another round where Okolie got a point taken away for excessive holding. But this round, I thought Okolie actually had the better work than Smith, so I gave it a 9-9 round. Then around number 8, I gave it to Okolie because he was actually pressing and doing much better work than Smith and much better work than prior rounds where he was just holding and not really doing much else. Then in round number 9, I gave it to Smith because I just thought that Smith was just doing better with the power shots. Was landing the heavier, more effective shots. Then around number 10, Okolie got dropped with a left hand. Whilst coming forward, he got dropped with the left and then sat down on his knees. It was a very good shot, but in the end, it was a 10-8 round for Chris Billam-Smith because of the knockdown. But after that knockdown, Okolie actually landed some nice shots on Billam-Smith and actually seemingly hurt him a bit. But then round 11, Okolie got dropped again. It was a barrage of punches from Chris Billam-Smith that sort of caught him. He got hit with a barrage of shots, was trying to hold on to Chris Billam-Smith. Some more punches got landed, and then Okolie went down to his knees again, and it was scored a knockdown rightfully. But then around 12, I gave it to Lawrence Okolie because I just thought he was a bit more aggressive and had better pressure. But in the end, that accumulates to a 114-109 scorecard for Chris Billam-Smith. He definitely won this fight comfortably, in my opinion, based on those multiple knockdowns, those multiple point deductions. I think there's no way that Okolie could have got a draw or anything in his favor. So this goes into the question, what is next for Chris Billam-Smith? I guess you could say for both of them. This is definitely for both of them for what's next for Okolie and for Billam-Smith. I definitely think a rematch could be next and will probably be most likely because Billam-Smith was a pretty heavy underdog, I would say, in this fight. I didn't really see anyone picking against Okolie in this one. Obviously, the odds weren't like how, like on, I always like to check out other YouTubers who do fight predictions, and I like to see what they're picking for these fights. And most, if not everyone, was picking Okolie most likely by decision. I was picking Okolie by decision in this fight, but I mean, Billam-Smith shocked everyone and got the upset here. So for both of them next, it could definitely be a rematch. But if it's just for Chris Billam-Smith and what's next for him, I definitely think we could see Chris Billam-Smith take on Richard Riakporhe again, because I believe their first fight ended in a split decision for Riakporhe. So I think we could definitely see that, but instead for a WBO World Championship. But if it's just for Lawrence Okolie, what could be next for him? Okolie, he was the WBO champ, defended his title 3 times. If he doesn't rematch Billam-Smith, we could definitely see Okolie in a fight with a top 15, top 10 cruiserweight. I want to say his name correctly. It's the guy. It's Masternak from Poland. I don't really know how to say his first name all that well, but Masternak, he's ranked in the WBO. He's been in the cruiserweight division for a long, long time. He might be in his 40s right now, maybe late 30s, but he's highly ranked by the WBO, so we could possibly see Lawrence Okolie in a non-title fight against him, maybe. But otherwise, I think the rematch between these two is most definite. But aside from that, we could see Billam-Smith against Richard Riakporhe in a rematch for the title, or we could see Lawrence Okolie taking on possibly someone like a Mateusz Masternak for his next fight. So overall, Lawrence Okolie loses his world title, getting dropped multiple times, and getting his world title and getting many points deducted from him for holding. And in the end, Chris Billam-Smith gets his dream win, getting the best victory by far in his career, becoming the WBO Cruiserweight Champion of the world. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.